The story begins with a man resting at a gas station on the side of a highway. Suddenly, he hears a strange sound from behind. When he turns around, there's nothing there. But his curiosity pulls him toward the sound, and what he sees chills him to the bone. Cut to a couple, Polly and her husband Belzer, who have come camping near a forest to celebrate their wedding anniversary. While setting up the tent, Belzer makes a mistake, and the tent gets torn. Polly gets quite disappointed as she was expecting some adventure. But now they're forced to leave the forest and find a hotel instead. As they pack up and get into the car, they spot a lone woman standing by the roadside, seemingly asking for help. Polly stops the car, but before she can fully get out, a man suddenly appears holding a sharp object. He grabs Polly and points the weapon at her. Belzer panics and starts pleading. Soon it turns out that the man and woman just want a ride. The woman's name is Lacey and the man is Dennis. They are both involved in some crime and are on the run from the police. Polly and Belzer decide it's best to drop them off as soon as possible, but fate has other plans. After driving a short distance, the car hits something. A tire gets punctured and the car's cooling system begins to leak. Polly and Dennis start changing the tire, while Belzer and Lacey go to check what they hit. They come across a strange creature. Its entire body is covered in spikes. It's not dead, just barely moving. While Dennis is inspecting the tire, one of the spikes pricks his hand. He removes it but doesn't realize that it's no ordinary thorn. They get back in the car and drive off again, unaware that the thorns stuck in the tires have started to spread something from within. Soon, smoke starts rising from the car. Just then, they see a gas station ahead, but it's completely deserted. Lacey goes to the washroom, and as she opens the door, a man covered in spikes falls out. She panics and tells Dennis, but he doesn't take her seriously. Suddenly, a shadow leaps out and attacks Lacey. Belzer freezes in fear, but then Polly's voice snaps him out of it. Strangely, the monster doesn't harm Belzer and instead runs straight toward the car. This gives Belzer a chance to escape. Polly and Belzer run and hide inside a nearby grocery store. Seeing Lacey's corpse, Polly is completely terrified. She wants to call the police, but Dennis stops her. He's already on the police's radar, and calling them would mean his arrest. Seeing Polly resist, Dennis loses his temper and hits her, knocking her down. Belzer wants to help, but seeing a weapon in Dennis's hand, he decides it's safer to stay quiet. Dennis then cuts the phone line to prevent anyone from calling for help, unaware that this mistake would soon cost him dearly. Now everything is silent. Dennis checks the CCTV cameras to see what's happening outside. That's when he notices Lacey's corpse is moving. She's alive, but in a strange way. The monster is still sitting on top of the car covered in sharp thorns. Dennis decides he can't watch his girlfriend die. Everyone agrees to a plan to send Dennis outside. As soon as he steps out, Polly has a realization. She can't rely on a criminal like Dennis again. So, she locks the door from inside. Dennis somehow manages to drag Lacey back, but seeing the door locked drives him mad. He pulls out his weapon and is about to break down the door when Belzer opens it just in time, saving Dennis by a hair. Inside, Belzer is startled to see a severed hand twitching on the floor. Being a biologist, he becomes curious about these strange creatures. He notices that the hand is covered in metal thorns and seems to be growing by feeding on flesh. Suddenly, a loud noise is heard again. Lacey is now fully under the creature's control, repeatedly banging her head on the window until she's covered in blood. Terrified, everyone tries to escape through the back door, but the way out is blocked by another wall, and it too is wrapped with iron chains. Before they can find a way out, some noises come from above. The monster is now moving toward them from behind. They quickly shut the door. Just then, a female police officer arrives. She was chasing Dennis to catch him. Polly tries to tell her the truth, but the officer believes they are all part of the same gang. She was about to call for backup on her wireless when a few drops of blood fell on her. The next moment, a dark shadow pounces on her. The officer now becomes the monster's new victim. Polly and the others are now completely terrified. The phone line is cut. No help is coming. Now they can only rely on themselves. But the monster doesn't seem to die from any weapon. It feels like it's immortal. Just then, Dennis gets an idea. If they set the forest on fire, the fire brigade will definitely come since the forest is right next to the shop. It seemed possible, but they forgot that the shop they are hiding in is built over a petrol station, and below it is a large oil tank. Dennis goes outside and starts spreading petrol. At the same time, Belzer hears someone's voice outside. He peeks out and sees that the police walkie-talkie has fallen to the ground, and the voice is coming from it. For a moment, everyone feels a ray of hope. Now their only goal is to somehow reach that device. The good thing was that the place they were hiding in was a small grocery store. There were many useful items there. Belzer picks up some hangers and connects them to make a long stick with a hook. He tries to reach the walkie-talkie, but the wire falls short. Seeing this, Dennis comes to help too. But his finger, which was already injured, had now become badly infected. When Polly asked, he didn't tell her the truth. A little while later, Belzer manages to reach the walkie-talkie using a long wire. But as soon as he touches the device, the terrifying monster lunges at them. In an attempt to escape, Belzer loses his grip, and the walkie-talkie breaks into two pieces. The monster now starts trying to break in through the cracks in the store's walls. Polly bravely started attacking it. Somehow, she managed to hold back its body, but the monster's arm had already reached deep inside and began moving toward Belzer and Dennis. Meanwhile, Dennis came out of the freezer and said there was a cold storage room in the back where they could hide for a while. Belzer quickly sent Polly there and stayed behind to hold off the monster. As soon as Polly reached safely, Belzer gave the monster a strong push and jumped into the freezer himself. Everyone's hearts were pounding. The monster kept attacking the glass, but then suddenly it went still and collapsed to the ground. It seemed like it had lost track of its prey. Everyone sighed in relief, but just then, Dennis began screaming in pain. His arms started twisting. His bones were breaking, and sharp, thorny branches began emerging from his hand. It was a terrifying sight. Enduring the pain, Dennis said his arm needed to be cut off, or he would become a monster himself. But the pain was too intense, and he passed out. Belzer didn't waste time. He grabbed a knife and tried to cut off Dennis's hand, but the bone was so strong that the knife couldn't do anything. Just then, he spotted a crowbar nearby. He told Polly to hold Dennis's hand steady. The scene changes. Dennis regains consciousness and realizes Belzer saved his life. His behavior becomes much calmer than before, and he starts cooperating with the team. They all begin planning together. Belzer remembers that when Dennis first arrived at the gas station, the monster didn't attack him, but instead ran toward the heated car. And even when they were hiding in the freezer, the monster stopped attacking. From this, Belzer reaches a conclusion. The monster detects its prey through heat and body temperature. If the body temperature is lowered below room temperature, the monster won't be able to detect them. Though this method was extremely risky, they had no other choice. Belzer placed ice on himself to lower his body temperature. Shivering, he reached the door. Polly threw some objects outside to distract the monster. The sound of firecrackers finally caught the monster's attention. Belzer took advantage of the moment and slowly crawled toward the police jeep. His movements were very slow because his body had gone numb from the ice. But Polly kept distracting the monster. Because of her, Belzer somehow made it to the jeep. He tried to turn on the walkie-talkie kept inside, but realized it didn't have the key and the device was off. Meanwhile, as Belzer's body started warming up again, the monster sensed his presence and ran toward the jeep. Just then, Dennis appeared at the store's entrance with firecrackers in his hand and threw them loudly, distracting the monster once more. But as soon as Dennis tries to go inside, the monster pounces and knocks him to the ground. Thankfully, with Lacey's help, Dennis somehow manages to get back into the icy storage room. Meanwhile, the firecrackers that Foley had dropped earlier came into contact with the petrol spilled on the floor, and flames began to spread rapidly inside the store. Belzer realizes there's very little time left. He pulls himself together, grabs a shotgun from the back of the police jeep, and runs straight toward the fire without a second thought. But when he shoots at the monster, it sounds like hitting metal with a spoon. It has no effect. That's when Belzer remembers the spiked hand they had seen earlier. Suddenly, it appears again. This time, Belzer shoves it straight into the fire. The hand stops moving. They now realize the monster is afraid of fire. So what next? Everyone starts trying to push it into the flames, but the monster is clever. It doesn't budge from its place. Realizing that someone will have to make a sacrifice, Dennis gives Belzer his gun and says, "You all go. I'll stop it." Hearing this, Belzer and Foley turn around and run outside. But just then, the monster attacks Dennis, wounding his shoulder. Still, Dennis doesn't give up. He reloads his gun, and as the monster comes closer, he fires. The monster falls into the fire. Belzer and Foley rush back in to pull Dennis out. But Dennis is infected again. On top of that, Lacey's death has shattered him. Smiling, Dennis pulls himself back and fires his last bullet at the petrol tank. The entire gas station explodes in flames. Dennis and the monster are both burned to ashes. Belzer and Foley somehow manage to escape, but the story doesn't end there. In the climax, we see that in a nearby forest, a wild animal is attacked by something invisible. Moments later, sharp spikes begin to emerge from its body too, meaning the danger isn't over yet. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts. Also subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.